Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Thanks for coming and checking out the video today. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, help me out. And, at the end of the video, hit the like button, hit the dislike button, whichever one you hit though. Please leave me a comment and tell me why so I can improve the videos or make the changes or, argue my point about why I've included some of the cards in the deck. It's always great to get comments and feedback. Anyway, today's deck, you already know what we're here for today. And we're here for Glissa, Herald of Predation. 3 black and green for a 3/5 legendary creature Phyrexian zombie elf. It says there. It doesn't say it quite there, but hey, it's an elf, trust me. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Incubate 2 twice, so we get a couple of artifacts with 2 +1/+1 counters on them each. And then, or we can transform all our incubate tokens, which is nice, or we can give all the Phyrexians we have in play first strike and death touch until the end of turn. Interesting. First ability, yeah, okay, gives us some, potential future blockers. The second ability and the third abilities are the ones I've really enjoyed trying to figure out for this deck, though. Giving everything first strike and death touch. Shame you can't give them all trample. But, yeah, I can cope with that. Just wipe the board, wipe some opponent's creatures out and see where it goes from there. So, what does the deck look like today? Well, it looks very much like this. Starting with the lands as usual, we have all the usual selection of green and black lands in the deck that you'd expect to see. Dranathi Runes is one I'll just point out. It's very nice because you get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on target non-human creature that entered the battlefield this turn. And that can really help in this deck because you don't want them to die too quickly, but you do want to make them big enough to punch through. And this is just quite a nice cheap way of doing it. I'm not saying do it early dawns, you'll be tapping it for mana to play things, but later in the game it gives you a way of playing those creatures you play late, making them that little bit bigger, which does help. The rest of it, as I said, all the usual stuff. We've got Myrics in here as well, just so we can make some mites. If nothing else, you can make a mite for 3 mana and then put a couple of +1/+1s on it. So 5 mana for 3/3 with Toxic. A little bit expensive, but it's doable. Reliquary Towers here, Overgrown Tombs here. We've got Temple of the False God, the Moors. A couple of the lands you can easily replace. Yavimar, Cradle of Growth, and Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth can come out quite happily if you don't own them and you want to get the cost down a bit. We haven't gone too badly on the ramp for this one for a change. We've gone with Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, the Charcoal Diamond and the Moss Diamond, and the Talisman of Resilience, just so we've gone that far with the ramp. Not playing Solemn Sim, we could have fitted in. There may be an argument to have Solemn Sim in here, but I've ignored it for the time being. But the rest of the stuff we've got on the deck, are kind of Phyrexians, which we're really interested in. So, we've got Bilious Skull Wielder, which has already got Death Touch, I know that, but giving your 1/1 first strike and killing something that's massive is really quite funny. Ica Drinker, just so we can get a little bit of life if we need to, but because we're interested in +1/+1 counters, Hardened Scales is here, and it made sense to me. Like Venerated Rot Priest, whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. We are doing a little bit of poisoning, but, this is just fun. And I decided to have one in the deck. Blight Belly Rat, when it dies we get to proliferate, so hopefully we've got to chuck some poison counters around. Again, it's a Phyrexian which we can give first strike and death touch to. Drowning Ica, just to proliferate. Gifted Compassion does the whole incubate side when it comes into play. This is one of the good ones, because whenever our Phyrexians die we get to scry, which, surveil, sorry, not scry. We get to surveil, which can be good in this deck. Necrogen Communion gives something toxic, and when a creature dies, get it back into play. That's fine. Pestilence Siphoner, another flying toxic 1/1, not great, but first strike, death touch, okay, cope with that. Branch Blight Stalker is also here just for the toxicity thing. Again, it'll probably die really quickly. And Canker Bloom, just so we can blow things up if we need to, or proliferate if we sack it off. Fin means that whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. It's just a nice way of doing it because, we'll give everything Death Touch as well. So, yeah, okay. Infectious Bite, just so we can deal with the things when we've got Death Touch on something. Nature's Law to ramp, along with Rampant Growth. And then we've got Ozolith, the Shattered Spire. We like +1/+1 counters in this deck, so they're here for that, along with the Winding Constrictor. It's the only non-Phyrexian creature in the deck, but, you know, we do get to put counters on things. So, yeah, okay then. One of the ones we've got is Icoclaw Mere. That's in here because, you know, we do want to have our little bit of infection going on with our First Strike and Death Touch. 3 drops, Bloated Processors here, Completed Hunt Masters here, Stinging Hive Masters here. Can you see what's happening here? You know, we're getting lots and lots of little ways of incubating just coming through occasionally. The Completed Hunt Master is quite important in this deck, I'll be honest, because it does get you to sack off your toxic creatures if you need to get the incubate tokens, which could be better. Phyrexian Crusader, I like this card. This will be turning up for a little bit longer at the moment. It comes with effect. It's got First Strike, protection from red and protection from white, which are the main removal colours still. Blighted Burgeoning gives us an incubate token. It ramps us up. You know, Cultivate does cultivate things. Evolution Sage does the whole proliferate when we get there. Makes our counters on our incubate tokens even more. Icaspit Basilisk gives us a nice way of doing the whole Death Touch and Toxic 1 thing. Goes nicely with Finn. And Kami of the Whispered Hopes, another way of getting more +1/+1 counters on things. Kodama of the West Tree made a lot of sense in this deck because we're going to have so many modified creatures, because they will have +1/+1 counters on all the incubator tokens. Gives us a nice way to search out our basic lands and get them into play tapped. Tribute to the World Tree. A lot of the creatures we control have power less than 3. So they're going to come in with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. And in some cases, that's going to make them really hard to deal with. Elvish Vat Keeper gets to do the whole incubate when it comes into play, and then we get to transform incubate tokens we control and double the numbers of counters on them for 5 mana. Nice towards the end of the game. Herald's Horn, we just named Phyrexian, which drops the cost of all our creature spells by 1. And we can look at the top card of our library at the beginning of our upkeep, and if it's a creature of the chosen type, which it probably will be, get to put it in our hand. Extra bit of card draw, can't complain. Sword of Truth and Justice is purely here for the proliferation it will do for us. And, you know, pro blue, pro white, it's not the worst thing to have at the moment on MTGO. Damnation to control the board. Terror of Torashi is also here, just so we can pay the 4 mana eventually and return a card from our graveyard. It becomes a Phyrexian, which is nice. Converter Beast enters the battlefield, we get to incubate 5. Yes, it's a 0/1, it's not great, but, you know, getting an incubate 5 is pretty good. Parallel Lives obviously is here, so it doubles up our tokens. Again, it's another card you can take out if you want to keep the cost down of this deck. Plague Nurse means everything gets Toxic 1. Each other creature you control with Toxic gains Toxic 1. That's quite nice. Thank you. Glistening Dawn comes in. We incubate X twice, where X is the number of lands we control. So that could give us some very big incubate tokens to get ready to flip with Glissa. Triumph of the Hordes. Yeah, it's probably a beardy way to win, to be fair. Give everything +1/+1 trampoline effect till the end of turn. It probably means you will kill fewer people when you get there. Corpse Jack Menace is something I completely forgot about, and I was looking for things that doubled up our +1, well, gave us more +1/+1 counters, and this one came up in my search. So, you know, I went and picked one up and put it straight in the deck. Great card for this sort of deck. And Necrogen Rot Priest, Toxic 2. Whenever a creature you control with Toxic deals combat damage for a player, they get an additional poison counters. And target creature you control with Dex Toxic gets Death Touch until the end of turn, just in case something gets in your way and you need to deal with it. Kinzu is back again, just so we can keep our tokens going and gives us some toxic creatures when they die, along with Skithrix is back again. Sorry, got to be into Skithrix. Varrock. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. Yeah, okay then. We'll be having things leaving the battlefield. Another card you can happily drop out if you need to. Doubling Season. It was just another way for me to make sure the incubate tokens got even bigger. Tangled Skyline. Enters the battlefield. We gain 5 life and incubate 5. And everything has reach. Yeah, okay then. All the Phyrexians suddenly can block everything in the air. Nice. Defiler of Vigor. Yeah, okay. Get to put green. Whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Makes things really fun if you can do this after you've flipped all your incubator tokens. Tyrannex of Atrocity is in because it has haste and toxicity. It's not great at 5 mana. A card you can probably drop, but well, it is what it is. And then Moldavine Reclamation is just a nice way of making sure we're getting cards coming to play and keeping our life total a little bit healthy. Injector Crocodile is here for no other reason apart from the swamp cycling. If we get to the point where we're paying 6 mana, we need a 5/5 blocker for 6 mana and getting the incubate token when it dies, fine. But my whole thought with this is with 36 lands in the deck, this will get cycled as soon as possible so we can get back into the game. Goliath Hatchery is just a way of giving us some more wonderful toxic golems, Phyrexian beast creature tokens, I should say, with toxic 1. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, choose a creature you control, then draw cards equal to its total toxic value. Now, it may be just 1 card, it may be 2 cards, but at the end of the day, we get to draw cards with it, so it's here. Foreign Clicks, double our counters that we put around and half the ones that come on to us. And Vigor. Vigor is one of those cards that a lot of people seem to forget about when you're playing a +1/+1 deck, especially in green. This works so well, it's ridiculous. You just attack with everything, you prevent all that damage, and all your creatures get all those extra +1/+1 counters. Makes it very hard, short of things like Wrath of God, Damnation, for people to deal with your board. Even more so when it's paired up with Sylvantral Hunger Dominus. You double the amount of power and toughness each creature has until the end of turn, and then they get a whole load of +1/+1 counters, and then it just gets silly. Rise of the Dark Realms is in. It's going to be a bit of a challenge to get to 9 mana. I agree with that. But just taking everyone's cards out of their graveyards, or creature cards, out of their graveyards and putting them as plan under your control is brilliant. Hence why Portal to Phyrexia makes an appearance today. Everyone sacks 3 apart from you. And at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It becomes Phyrexian. So it benefits from all our little things that we have going on, wherever they've all gone. All the bonuses for Phyrexian creatures, like Tangled Skyline. That's what I was looking for as an example. Tyver's Stand is here. Target creature you control gets +X/+X and gains hexproof and indestructible to the end of turn. Nice. And then, if we're going to do the whole let's poison everyone using Glissa, we might as well just have Blightsteel Colossus in just to get there at the end. If it would be put anywhere and it goes back into your library. So, even if they do manage to give it -11 somehow, it just gets shuffled back in and ready to come again. But that's it. That's my little take on Glissa today. I'm quite happy with it as a deck. It plays out reasonably well. I am hoping that we see some more of the incubate creatures coming on board as Daybreak Games get through the programming process. But at the moment, I think this is quite a nice place to be. Especially if we can give all our Phyrexian creatures First Strike and Death Touch. You can't complain. So that's it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of today's video. If you think I've missed something out that you'll be playing on MTGO, leave it down below. If you built Glissa in real life and there's cards not on MTGO that you think should be included, please let me know. They might be here, I might have missed them. I'm not going to hold my hands up and say I'm professional. I'm not a professional toxic player. Let's go with that, shall we? But at the end of the day, I think I've got the best thing you can play on MTGO built with this one. So, like I say, let me know. Hope you've hit the subscribe button. Hopefully you'll come and see me on Twitch as well. There's a link to that down below. You can come and watch me play the deck. And that's it for now. So I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.